Well, all panel members, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Faten Hamima binti Norman, will be your moderator for our forum discussion today. First of all, I would like to thank all of the audience for attending the forum discussion. Our forum topic for today is public transportation that will be held by the student of degree in finance. In this occasion, we shall have outstanding presentations from our prominent panels, whom I believe shall enrich our insights and knowledge regarding to the topic today. Before the forum presentation begin, let me introduce the panel members. The first panel is Muhammad AZNOL bin SHAMSUDIN. The second panel is NORSHAHIRA binti JASNI. The third panel is NORSHAHIRA ADILAH binti AHMAD Kamal. And the fourth panel is One FAQIHAH binti One MUHAMAD RIDZAN. Nowadays, we are encouraged to use public transport when we are going to workplaces, school, colleges, and other destinations in order to continue our business of life. I believe there are some people are good in practicing their rights with this kind of transport, but there are still have some other people who are lacking of information about this. So, for further detail about this topic, I believe our panel members will provide us with their interesting talk. Without wasting our time, I would like to welcome our first panel. He will deliver a presentation entitled Introduction of Public Transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Muhammad AZNOL bin SHAMSUDIN, our first panel for today.
Assalamualaikum and thank you to the moderator. My name is Muhammad AZNOL bin SHAMSUDIN. First of all, I would like to begin the forum with the definition of public transportation. Public transport, also known as public transportation, is a system of transport in contrast to private transport for passenger by group travel system available for use by the general public. Typically, managed on a schedule, operate on established road, and that charge a post fee for each trip. Example of public transport including city bus, trolley buses, trains, and passenger trains, rapid transit, and ferries. According to Cambridge Dictionary, public transport is a system of vehicles such as buses and trains that operate at regular time on fixed route and are used by the public. Firstly, according to Minister of Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri said it was recorded that 56% of the people use public transportation service now. She said in the newspaper NST 2017, the government wished for more people to use public transportation as it provides greater benefit than using a personal vehicle. Secondly, Malaysia has well-developed transport network and efficient rail link. The international port and airport are well linked to bus and train services, making it easy and convenient to travel from around the world. Some domestic transport in Malaysia is convenient and fairly priced, with air travel being the costliest. It is advisable to book domestic transport well in advance during major festivals such as Chinese New Year, Hari Raya Puasa, and Hari Raya Haji. Domestic flight and cities is perfect for several different means of transport. In Kuala Lumpur, for example, there are buses, minibuses, taxis, trishaw, and trains. In the last decade, Malaysia has made strong strides in increasing social mobility upward as the country continue to push toward becoming an advanced nation. Given that Malaysia is made up 75% of urban area, it is particularly important to have a good public transport system. It is still hard for most Malaysians to let go of the notion that one could survive the grid without owning a car. Low-income urban household would be at a disadvantage without reliable public transport, which could potentially prevent them from moving up the socio-economic ladder. Occasionally, safety and technical issues tend to threaten current mass transit network.
Thanks to the panel 1. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our second panel. She will deliver a presentation entitled The Advantages of Public Transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. NORSHAHIRA binti JASNI.
Assalamualaikum and thank you to moderator. My name is NORSHAHIRA binti JASNI. Would like to continue the forum presentation by giving an explanation about 3 advantages of public transportation. The first advantage of public transport is it can help to reduce greenhouse gas emission and keep traffic congestions lower. According to Tina Hodges, Officer of Budgets and Policy in Federal Transit Administration US, national average has demonstrated that by using public transport, it can produce less greenhouse gas emissions per passenger mile than private vehicles, as the leading way is by heavy rail transit, such as metros and subways, which this contributes 76% less of greenhouse gas emissions per passenger mile than average single occupancy vehicles SOV. In addition, bus transit produce 33% less of emissions and light rail system produce 62% less, which these estimations is calculated by fuel usage and passenger mile data in the 2008 National Transit Database. This is because most of the rail transit system are controlled by electricity power. People who are relying on electricity from less emission source such as hydroelectric are not surprisingly have benefits in lowering the emissions. For instance, if just one driver per household decide to take public transport in daily commute of 10 miles each way, this would save 4,627 pounds of carbon dioxide per year. Besides that, in order to facilitate more density development, switching to public transport can keep traffic congestions lower, where it can support increasing the foot traffic and street level retail, which this enables transfer from driving to walking and biking. Thus, it shows the household living that close to public transport system tend to have fewer cars because they may not need a car for having trips and commuting. The second advantage of public transport is it can provide mobility benefits for people who are transportation disadvantaged. According to Todd Lippman, a founder and executive director of Victoria Transport Policy Institute, in Guidebook of Public Transit Benefits and Costs, says that public transport can provide basic mobility in helping people who cannot drive due to physical, economic and social constraints. This transit can be considered as an important travel medium for low and middle income non-driver to do many important activities in their daily life, such as for medical services, employment and also education. For example, a non-driver will have good public transport services in his living community area can purchase a monthly travel pass for unlimited rides on all rail, includes MRT, LRT and monorail are good enough in provide quite high level of mobility. In addition, public transport also assists in reduce unemployment and welfare dependency. This can affect seniors and disabled people's ability to get leave independently, which this can decrease the care of facility costs. As a result, part of the public transport subsidies can be balanced out by savings in government's budget. The third advantage of public transport, it can contribute to a country economic development. According to Todd Lippman, economic developments are refers to the increasing of productivity, employment, business activity and income. It can be seen in the form of direct expenditure because the public transport is one of the labor intensive and provide more jobs and local business activity than other transportation investment. Public transportation also support in the economic development by reducing the consumer expenditure. This is because residents of cities with good quality of public transport services tend to spend less on their transportation costs in terms of fuel expenditure. Besides that, economic development also can be increased by improve the access of employment. As a result, from reductions of roads and parking facility costs, traffic congestions and air pollutions, more efficient land is used for development and supporting certain industry in the country such as tourism and businesses. For example, by having public transport services, it can give benefits to a restaurant and the employees by increasing the pool of accessible workers to go to the workplace and help to reduce the amount of absenteeism from transportation failure. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks to panel 2 for the explanation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our third panel. She will deliver a presentation entitled The Disadvantages of Public Transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. NORSHAHIRA ADILAH binti Ahmad Kamal.
Assalamualaikum and thank you to the moderator. My name is NORSHAHIRA binti Ahmad Kamal. I would like to continue the forum presentation by giving an overview to 4 advantage of public transportations. According to the former Minister of Transport in Malaysia, AZNOL, in the article newspaper on the February 2019, he stated that one of the disadvantages of public transportation is passengers vulnerable to crime, especially female passengers. The crimes such as sexual harassment and robbery. AZNOL has identified Sigma's Rapid Transit MRT station as a hotspot for the criminal activity. On 14 February, one woman aged 48 years old bruises on her forehead and suffered multiple injuries after she was brutally attacked by a robber in MRT at 6:45 a.m. Another crime that can happen in public transportation is sexual harassment. According Prasarana Berhad in year 2017, 22 sexual harassment cases are recorded in the public transportations. From that number, 21 men were arrested by auxiliary police. Prasarana Berhad gave the statement in the same period. Security team had also picked up 13 men over suspicions of harassing commuters on board is a public transport. The next disadvantage of public transportation is difficult in reaching a public transport is hindering passengers from making full use of bus and trains and other public transportations. According town's planner, Night Chu Wei said that connecting between certain areas remains a major hassle and the spread of the Malaysia city makes it difficult for public transport to cover all areas, especially rural areas. People can use the public transportations if they are not covered in their area. According to another town planner, Yong Son Wong said that the quality of public bus is not a big issue, but the problem is how to make the passengers know about the locations where they can use the public transport since not covered in their area. According to Todd Littman, a founder and executive director of Victoria Transport Policy Institutions, its guidebook states that the public transportations can give a travel time impact to the passengers is another disadvantage of public transportations. Littman say that the trips of public transportation usually will take time from one station to another station. The time for the public transportations arrive at a station is late from the actual schedule. Littman also said the minute spent driving in congestions, waiting for unpredictable bus or standing in a crowded transit vehicle is often much costlier than a minute spent a pleasant condition sitting in a comfortable seat in a clean and a comfortable bus or train because passengers experience less stress and can rest. The last disadvantage of public transportation is the passengers doesn't have their own privacy transportations and limited space in the public transportations, especially during a peak hour. According by the Mr. Barton that has experience working in the fields of compensations and journalized for over 10 years, she said that in the public transportations, the passengers will not have their privacy. It is because with the limited space, there is nothing to prevent person that sitting next to you from see what you're doing, such as reading documents that you read, looking at the contents of your handbags and other things that can make the passengers is uncomfortable during takes the public transportations.
Thank you to the panel 3. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our last panel. She will deliver a presentation entitled The Government Effort in Improving Public Transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Wan FAQIHAH binti Wan Muhammad RIDZAN.
Thank you, my fellow friends and moderator. My name is FAQIHAH binti Wan Muhammad RIDZAN. We continue the forum about government efforts in improving public transportation. There are three government efforts in improving public transportation that have been discussed. Firstly, one of government effort is the government has launched 500 million ringgit public transport fund. According to New Straits Times, to May 2019, the fund that has launched by the government to encourage public transport adoption while improving and enhancing transport-related infrastructure in the country. According to former Finance Minister Lam Guat Eng, the modal share of public transport still remains low, even though heavy investment into train and bus services. He stated that a lot still needs to be done in order to achieve the target to the government to increase public transport's share of journeys from 21% in 2017 to 40% by 2030. Secondly, another government's effort is the government emphasize more on improving railway networks and services. According to former Deputy Transport Minister Datuk Kamaruddin Jaafar, in newspaper article May 21 January 2020, this improvement will help to increase public usage and the transportation of freight. He said, railway services in our country are still underutilized and hope that more Malaysians will use this service in the future when major rail projects are fully completed. The government always given preference in improving public transport with several large-scale public transport projects under construction in the Klang Valley. For example, the Sungai Buloh, Serdang, Putrajaya MRT and the LRT3 projects. These projects will improve economic growth while increasing the use of public transport in Klang Valley, said Datuk Kamaruddin Jaafar. Lastly, the government was planning to provide sustainable transport system. According to previous Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, in newspaper article May 17 October 2019, the sustainable system will contribute to the country's economic growth and ensure the people's well-being. He said the policy will ensure Malaysia remain as a business-friendly nation, meets the industry needs, and able to compete at the international level in the transport industry.
Thank you to the panel 4. Before we end our forum presentation today, I would like to ask to all panel members if you have any other information to add regarding to this topic. If so, you are welcome to further your talk.
Assalamualaikum and thank you to the moderator. My name is Muhammad AZNOL bin SYAFIQAH. First of all, I would like to begin the forum with the definition of public transportation. Public transport, also known as public transportation, is a system of transport in contrast to private transport for passenger by group travel system available for use by the general public. typically manage on a schedule, operate on established road, and that charge a post fee for each trip. Example of public transport including city bus, trolley buses, trains, and passenger trains, rapid transit, and ferries. According to Cambridge Dictionary, public transport is a system of vehicles such as buses and trains that operate at regular time on fixed route and are used by the public. Firstly, according to Minister of Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri said it was recorded that 56% of the people use public transportation service now. She said in the newspaper NST 2017, the government wished for more people to use public transportation as it provides greater benefit than using a personal vehicle. Secondly, Malaysia has well-developed transport network and efficient rail link. The international port and airport are well linked to bus and train services, making it easy and convenient to travel from around the world. Some domestic transport in Malaysia is convenient and fairly priced, with air travel being the costliest. It's advisable to book domestic transport well in advance during major festivals such as Chinese New Year, Hari Raya Puasa, and Hari Raya Haji. Domestic flight and cities is perfect for several different means of transport. In Kuala Lumpur, for example, there are buses, minibuses, taxis, rickshaw, and trains. In the last decade, Malaysia has made strong strides in increasing social mobility upward as the country continues to push toward becoming an advanced nation. Given that Malaysia is made up 75% of urban area, it is particularly important to have a good public transport system. It is still hard for most Malaysians to let go of the notion that one could survive the grid without owning a car. Low-income urban households would be at a disadvantage without reliable public transport, which could potentially prevent them from moving up the socio-economic ladder. Occasionally, safety and technical issues tend to threaten current mass transit network.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, finally we have come to the end of our forum for today. I would like to say thanks again to our panel members for their informative and interesting talk, and also thanks to the audience for your active participation. Hopefully, the presentation will be beneficial for everybody. Thank you for your attention.